All right, everybody, welcome back to another HR Heretics segment. Today we're going to talk about Meta, and they currently have 300 VPs, Kelly. Mark has come out, it sounds like privately in staff meetings, and saying that they are moving into permanent efficiency mode. They're going to cut at least 50 of these VPs, and they don't any longer want managers managing managers. So what's your take on Meta, this new push for efficiency, which sounds a lot like the old push for efficiency that we got, 12, 18 months ago? What do you think?
Right. Yes. So, I mean, efficiency. It's funny that the year of efficiency initiative. I think it's more of the same, Nolan. Like, look, I think we talked about this with Google a while back, and people being shocked at the safe, happy, warm place. And it's not like that anymore. And I think the hard thing for me though with Meta is this is like the fourth round, so it's kind of like, what are we doing here? Make up our mind, do it. I know it's hard to do it at once. However, I do empathize, that is a tough place to be in and a lot of anxiety, right? Even if I know some employees are, entitled, or they thought it was the safe place forever, or they're, high profile, high level at these companies. But it is difficult when it's kind of multiple cuts across a year. That is a tough place to be in. And so for me, it's almost like the big question for me, Nolan, is where else do you go? Like we talked about staying hungry. We talked about kind of always going out there, your stomach half full and working hard and networking and hustling. I don't believe a lot of these people have done that for sometimes double-digit years.
Yep. That's exactly the way I've been thinking about it, Kelly. I think there's like a couple threads to pull on. So first, let me take the employee side. And so, the promise of big tech, one of the promises of big tech is safety. In addition to, you get to work on scale problems and other cool things, but in general, like you have job security, you don't have to worry about this company going under. That promise is dead. I mean, I think this is the fourth cut Meta is doing in the last 18 months. And every time they do it, their stock reacts really positively, which tells me like investors love it. And if investors love it, why would Mark Zuckerberg do anything differently? The other piece, just on taking the employee side, is like right now, it's a very difficult market to find a job. And so if I'm one of these people, and I've been grinding as like a Zuck VP for 10 years, and now all of a sudden I get a pink slip, I'm like, holy shit, what do I do next? Because, candidly, I think a lot of these responsibilities of these VPs no longer exist within any company. And this is a couple of threads that we've had, but NVIDIA, Jensen who's the CEO of NVIDIA, has 60 direct reports. They are intentionally flat. More companies are cutting out these layers. And so I think things are changing, and I think we're starting to see like this is going to be problematic. Now, taking the company side, look, I think Meta probably has an issue with the ivory tower executive. The person who, sits around playing God all day long, isn't talking to customers, isn't like getting into the dirt and solving problems. And, if they were candidly to join an early stage startup, they'd be terminated probably in the first 60 days. They would never survive inside of an early stage tech company. And so, and I'm wondering now is like, are there companies for these types of people and that type of talent that has primarily been an executive in the old sense of the word, which is I just manage a lot of other managers who actually manage people who do the work.
Sure. And let's just be careful not to generalize, right?
Sure.
So it's not like some special snowflakes couldn't be successful in early stage companies or vice versa. And we've talked about this in the show. There is a very big bias in the market because I felt it myself when I jumped from Yahoo into venture, that it's hard to do so. And it actually is harder to do so, but some people can. Now, with that said, this whole bloat thing, I mean, you're seeing it. I mean, you're seeing it in early stage. You're seeing it here. Again, the fat and happy over the past 8-10 years, people are coming down on it. And I just think it got away from us.
Big
Again,
time.
I whether it's at Meta or a 300 person venture company, I just think in good times, you're enjoying it. You scrutinize less. And I think a lot of people got hired. I think a lot of levels and offers got bloated. And I think the hammer's coming down in hard times. Like, that's the deal. Now, could it go back the other way? Maybe. I mean, it would take a while. But this pendulum swing, I think we've seen it a lot, and then everyone gets wind of everyone else. Ooh, they're doing it. They're cutting bloat. We got to do it. There's
Exactly.
this like eight layer company. Sometimes, these Google, they're 10 layers. We gotta look at the org shape. We got to look at spans and layers, and we need to simplify this thing.
Yep.
So I think this is a common, give and take, Nolan. I just wish it wasn't, multiple cuts, because that's what sucks on the employee side.
Totally agree. The other aspect for me is titles. And I don't think we've actually talked about this a whole lot, Kelly, but as part of this last run up, we saw a lot of title inflation. I think we also saw, if you wanted to get promoted, you had to be on the manager track. And so,
Yes.
This is an aspect that I think as part of the flattening of orgs, like, we're also going to see a flattening of titles. And, 300 VPs, even though Meta, I think, has about 20,000 employees, like, if you do the ratio, it doesn't sound crazy, given the ratio, but it does, like, if you just think about 300 VPs alone, it's like, do you really need that many VPs? Like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm telling you, I walked into a 300 person company in 2016 and I was like, what? I told you, what's going on here? Everyone's a VP. Like, it happens everywhere. And, these big companies, they become very decentralized, and it's hard to look at everything from a bird's eye view as well. And so you're having, hundreds of recruiters bringing in folks and blah, blah, blah. It does happen. But I think this whole bloat thing's a big deal, and it's going to, definitely have an input. Now, on the other side, I just talked to someone, I won't name the company, but met them last week, got laid off, and they were jumping for joy, like literally like doing backflips because the package was so incredible, and they were kind of unhappy anyway and weren't really doing meaningful stuff. So, I would err that there probably are some people that are like, I'm going to take this again, like we said, and take my 9 months to spend time with family, wait for the market to loosen up, which I believe it already is starting to do so, and or like finally bite the bullet and make a life change and take off and move or do something different.
Yeah. I actually, it's an interesting story because I have another friend going through a similar situation right now, about to take a package, and there's not really much concern. And look, I think a lot of these people who've been tucked in for the last few years, who have weathered the storm and haven't been out of a job, don't understand how tough it is. Now, you did mention, I also agree with you. I think things are opening, but I don't think we're not going back to this world that was, 2020, 2021. That's not the world anymore. At least for the next 5 to 10 years, I do not expect to see that at all. And I think it's going to be a lot tougher for these people. And I think, that's one of my takes is like the business reality and the candidate expectation are not aligned right now.
Hey everyone, we'll be right back in a moment after a word from our sponsors. Your workforce is both your organization's greatest strength and largest single cost. With Planful, it's easy to unlock the secrets of successful workforce planning so you and your HR team can make the right business decisions. Imagine using data-driven insights to develop accurate forecasts, close hiring gaps, and adjust talent acquisition plans collaboratively based on costs today and into the future. Planful lets you collaborate with colleagues in finance to understand the value your employees bring to the table. And the best part, you can get started with Planful in just weeks with minimal help from IT. Plus, with Planful, you get an endless runway. Planful grows with you, no matter how fast or large your team scales. Ready to transform your HR strategy? Join over 1,500 organizations worldwide who trust Planful as their go-to workforce planning software at planful.com/heretics.
Here's a crazy stat. Between hybrid and frontline employees, about 80% don't typically work in an office. So it's no surprise that digitally engaging employees is the number one concern for CEOs as companies go hybrid. But as hybrid is quickly becoming the norm, it's easy for workplaces to start feeling a little less human. Yet delighting a digital workforce is possible, and it can even be, dare we say, fun. That's where Workvivo, Zoom's employee experience platform, comes in. If you've ever recoiled at the thought of a static intranet that looks like something you built in 1995 using MS Paint, have no fear. Workvivo is a dynamic, intuitive, accessible, and mobile-first tool. People actually like using it, which is why companies like Ryanair, Dollar General, Virgin, and more have rolled it out to hundreds of thousands of employees. Workvivo's activity feeds, spaces, shoutouts, and live streams, among other features, help elevate the employee experience like never before. The result? Dramatically better retention, productivity, and most importantly, connectedness. A greater sense of the belonging we all crave at work, whether we sit at a desk or drive a truck. Make Workvivo the digital heart of your organization and achieve limitless human connection. Head to workvivo.com to book a demo and make sure you tell them that Nolan and Kelli from HR Heretics sent you. And the only people who have that alignment are the people who have been really struggling to get a job for the last 6 to 12 months. And those people know how brutal it is. I think a lot of these people who have been tucked in don't understand quite how bad it is, even though they're hearing stories from friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I mean, we've all, again, it should be a t-shirt around here. It probably is, their whole rest invest thing. The people that are in the best position are the ones that one, worked their ass off in these companies and had impact and held themselves to that bar. Because it is easy. I will tell you, it's easy to get a little lazy. Like it's not difficult to just kind of hang out once in a while. But if you keep pushing, networking, hustling, keeping up with what's going on, that is a different ball game. And so I think some folks are going to have to start from behind the eight ball here. And those folks are better akin to also take more operational roles in earlier stage companies, right? We talked about this. Like in my role the last 14 years as a chief people officer, head of people, you're not an executive or an IC. You're both, like all the time. You're literally like hanging out in boardrooms and talking about the future. And then you're doing spreadsheets and you're doing shit that's like grinding. And so folks that can always kind of balance those two treadmills, I like to call it, they will always have better or more plentiful opportunities.
I totally agree. I would point people to an episode that Kelli and I did, a segment on networking. And people mention it to me all the time, but I've been thinking about like advice I've been giving to friends. And so obviously there's the networking aspect, which is always network. There's the, the ability to walk and chew gum with being in the ivory tower thinking about strategy, and then also getting into the dirt and actually solving real problems with your hands. And then, I think a lot about just like, you should be taking recruiter calls, even if you are happy in your role. Like there's this benefit that you get of like, well, what is my personal comp market? Like, what should I be making right now? And like, the best way to know is to talk to recruiters, because they will tell you what companies are benchmarking, at least for like the initial offer. And then two, you never know when you're going to need these people. So the sub-thread to networking is like the 1A is like, yes, your personal network, your peers, your friends, but also recruiters. Like you got to stay close with these people. And I feel like recruiting gets kind of a bad rap when these are the people who are actually like the gatekeepers for opportunities for folks.
Yeah. I was talking to someone about 6 months ago, and, I love analogies that maybe make sense to only me sometimes, but I was like, you got to keep the cement truck going at all times. Like that thing always has to be turning with ideas. And I don't care if you're reading or learning something new or researching, keeping up with stuff, listening to podcasts, talking to people, attending events, networking, helping others, advising. Like once that cement truck kind of like sticks and that cement hardens, it's kind of like, oh man, I just got a big shock. And now we have to like work harder to keep it going. So you always got to keep that thing going and working and thinking and hustling. Good things will happen. And even if nothing bad happens, more good things happen because the cement truck's going.
Yep. My analogy, I guess not an analogy, but the way I like to think about it is expanding your surface area of luck. And so, this is the analogy is like a lot of fishing lines out in the water, you're likely to have a bite.
Totally.
So
we could probably think of some others, but
yeah, send us your favorite analogies. Anyways, thank you, everybody. Let us know if you have any comments, feedback. Thanks so much.
Thanks all.
This episode is brought to you by Warp. If you're a founder with employees in multiple states, you know managing state tax compliance is complicated. Warp not only automates state tax compliance, but also offers a user-friendly experience tailored to the needs of startups with a robust in-house team of experts. Warp ensures your startup remains compliant across all 50 states, giving you the peace of mind you need to focus on scaling your business. They also make it easy for startups to provide health benefits for employees, hire international contractors, and even claim R&D tax credits. Hundreds of startups trust Warp to handle their payroll and compliance needs. You can go from zero to payroll live in just 2 days. Don't let payroll and compliance hold your startup back. Visit joinwarp.com/peel or tap the link in the description. Get started and receive a $1,000 gift card when you run your very first payroll. That's joinwarp.com/peel.
HR Heretics is a podcast from Turpentine, the network behind Econ 102, Moment of Zen, and Turpentine VC. Subscribe, 5 stars, share it on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts, all the things.